You know, love is an amazing, beautiful, powerful thing. Love is something that I believe everyone deserves to have in their life. And it's just such a pure and magnificent energy, spirit, however you want to look at it. But the reality is that love in the hands of human beings can get messy, okay? Love, when we have to navigate through it and manage it, there's so many other layers that then come along or come attached to it. There's so much more to consider and understand. And I think that a lot of what has gone wrong in relationships or the struggles that many face in dating is because there's a misunderstanding of love and how individuals, and for the sake of this video, how men interact with it, so to speak. All right, how men manage it, and even more so, how a woman then responds to that. Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about a lot of the common mistakes that a woman makes when dealing with a man who does love them, who does deeply love them. All right, we're not talking about the game players and the scammers and any of that. We're talking about a man, but a human man, who loves that woman, cares about her, respects her, wants to honor her, but understand that that still comes along with some other things, okay? So let's just get right into it. And one of the first common mistakes I want you to avoid when dealing with a man who deeply loves you is assuming that because he loves you, he knows how to love you, okay? Let me say it again. Assuming that because he loves you, he knows how to love you. The reality is that we are all coming from different places in life, okay? Or most of the time we are, many times we are. We're raised differently. We may have experienced different things. We may be receiving different types of advice, right? And all of that leads to different interpretations of how we should show up in a relationship, how we pour into each other. Not to mention that our own internal wiring of how we perceive love or how we like to receive love is going to vary and differ from person to person. One of the great examples of that is the whole 5 love languages. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. For those of you who aren't, brief rundown, it's basically like 5 different categories of how people like to give and receive love. It's things like physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service. I'm always forgetting the other ones. Maybe because those 3 are the most important for me. I don't know. But either way, some of y'all know the rest. Bottom line, there's 5 of them, something to look into. Either way, it highlights the fact that somebody may value acts of service and physical touch. Someone else may have a greater value on gifts. Gifts is another one. Gifts is another one. They might have a greater value on gifts and quality time. That's the other one. That's the 5 right there. So coming into it, we have a habit as people that when we don't care so much about a specific thing, meaning, okay, if I don't care about receiving gifts, and for the record, I really genuinely don't care about receiving gifts. But if I don't care about receiving gifts, there's this very bad habit for us to then diminish or not understand the value of a gift to someone else, okay? Because to us, it's like, it's not a big deal. Perfect example, I'll share something again with me is I never cared about like holidays, birthdays, special occasions. Like if I had a graduation and people couldn't be there, I'd be like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to walk, get my degree and go home. I don't really care. The problem with that was I did not embrace the value that other people had for showing up at their special occasions, at their special events, right? And I did not put in the same level of effort that I should have for being there at times. And I had to learn that I can't do that. This is how they want to be loved. They want to be poured into. This is what they value, even if to me, it's not the biggest deal. So all that to say, You can meet a man, he could have all the love for you. But if he was told that the way to a woman's heart is to give her flowers daily and to buy her things and to shower her with all these gifts, and some of y'all probably getting excited at the idea of that, but if that's what his version of love is, but to you it's like, yeah, that's nice, but I need your time and attention. I need the little things that matter to me. Those things don't make up for that, right? And sometimes there's this, because we assume, well, they should know better. And how does he not understand that? I've seen people, I don't want to say sabotage, but I've seen genuine situations go left because of that disconnect, okay? And the assumption of, well, he should just know rather than no, you have to still talk to him and let him know what's important to you. You still have to be clear about where your values are, what your love language is, all these different things. And to me, the what really shows how that man truly loves you or not, or if that man truly loves you or not, is his willingness to then adjust and embrace the things that are important to you. You see what I'm saying? That speaks more loudly to me than he just knew how to do that off the bat. And unfortunately, here's the other sad aspect of, or sad angle to using the example of the man who gives flowers and gifts, and to the woman that doesn't really do it for her, but no one's communicating. So the whole time he feels like, man, my efforts don't mean nothing to her. Man, maybe she doesn't love me. Maybe she doesn't like me like that, because all these gifts and flowers I give her don't seem to do much. But he's just not realizing, because those things aren't important to her. And until they communicate that, they won't know. So all that to say, yes, he may deeply love you. Doesn't mean he knows how to love you. Have a conversation, lay things out, and see his willingness to embrace and make changes rather than just to know off the bat himself. All right, now another common mistake to avoid when you're with a man that deeply loves you is, do not forget that he is still a man and he will still make mistakes, okay? So there's this quote that it says, and I may be a little bit off, but pretty much it says, a man who loves you will never put himself in a position to lose you. And though I understand where that quote is coming from, it's a quote I don't think I've ever posted that quote on any of my social media, because it never sat well with me, setting a standard that I felt was unrealistic. Because what I have seen is that if you're with someone long enough, a mistake is going to be made. They're gonna piss you off. Not maliciously try to hurt you. And we're not talking about even like extreme cases, maybe physically abusive and cheating, all these different things. Let's leave that off the table right now. Let's talk about other things that can be hurtful and cause friction, right? And there's this idea of, well, if he loved you, he wouldn't have done this, or he wouldn't have I'm gonna use it. I don't know why this comes in my head right now. He wouldn't have forgotten your birthday or your anniversary. Some of y'all probably like, hell nah, he can't forget the birthday and think it's okay. Listen. People are human. It is possible, all right? It could be so many different reasons why in that moment he lost track, forgot, whatever the case may be. And it doesn't mean, oh, he doesn't love you for real, okay? What's a bigger worry is when there's a pattern of mistakes, a pattern of falling short constantly or not correcting issues. That indeed is, to me, a man who's probably either not serious or not ready, okay? Because that's a different thing. Some men may really care about you, but they're just not ready. They don't know how, they haven't matured emotionally. They don't know how to handle this level of commitment and love for somebody, and it creates all kinds of problems. But getting to the main point I was making is that, yes, mistakes are made, okay? And granted, if you say to me, well, Stephan, if someone does something repeatedly, it's not a mistake. That's basically what I was just saying. We're not talking about repeated behavior, but the first time it happened, and I know this could be a tough discussion, because what is viewed as I don't want to use the word unforgivable because to me, everything has to be forgivable for your sake, but some things are unacceptable, right? So we'll use that word. What may be unacceptable mistakes to one may be different for another. So I'm trying to navigate this discussion as best as possible, but what I'm just trying to convey here is that he is still a man. And I'm not saying he's still a man as in men are just going to do stupid stuff. He's still a human being because listen, I love y'all, but y'all make mistakes too. Like you as a woman will do something that pisses him off too. You as a woman will do something that might make him question for a second, does this woman really love me or is something else going on here? We are human beings. We are flawed. And even when we love, we make mistakes. And if you want to take it to a spiritual place, tons of people love God and still sin. Love God and still do things they're not supposed to do. It doesn't mean they don't love God. It's just this is the nature of the human being. Okay? And so I do think we have to be careful putting unrealistic expectations on individuals because now when they inevitably fall short, we internalize it worse than we should, or we take it harder than we should. And now we create a bigger mountain to climb to overcome this issue and to get back to a healthy place. Whereas if we understand, all right, mistakes happen, let's address it, let's correct it. And if it's being corrected, that's what matters. That's what matters. So bottom line, he may love you, but he will still make mistakes. All right, so another common mistake I want you to avoid when with a man who deeply loves you is thinking that his love will heal you. Now, I know some of you might feel some kind of way about that because I think I've seen a lot of people who genuinely believe that the relationship can heal you, this person can heal you, or who will even give a testimony to that, who will say, well, their person is what healed them. And I never want to rule out that the possibility of it happening for somebody. I believe there's exceptions to pretty much every rule. However, it's an extremely unlikely scenario, and I'm very skeptical when people say it has happened for them like that. I question if maybe they're just not understanding what actually occurred here, or have they truly healed? But let's put a pin in that for a second, because let's talk about before you even meet that man, before you even dealing with the man who deeply loves you, there's an idea by some women, many women, that the right man will come along and heal them. And I love using this quote, do not look for a relationship to heal you. Lean on God first and let the work be done through him. Okay? The reality is that if you are waiting thinking that a man who truly loves you will be the catalyst or what will heal you, one, you're overlooking the fact that operating out of an unhealed place is going to lead you to more than likely choose the wrong person to be with. When you have not healed, it's like navigating life with broken glasses on. You cannot see straight. You don't see things as clearly as you should. Your ability to be in tune with your intuition and spirit is hindered at the very least, right? Because there's that blockage of unresolved hurt, disappointment, trauma that needs to be released from your spirit, from your body. So to think, and yes, some people may have gotten lucky or were fortunate that despite being unhealed, they were able to still meet the person that they have a connection with that's truly for them and move forward with them. However, if you even make it to that place, here's the other thing that's not being considered. When you have not healed, true love can scare the crap out of you. All right? And I know some of y'all felt that in your spirit because you have already experienced it or you're going through it right now, where you meet this person that you have this intense connection with, something that you've never felt with anyone else before. And it's overwhelming and it can get scary. And so by thinking that you can hold off on doing the inner work because meeting the man will heal you, you are running the risk of running from the man who loves you. Okay? So don't let that be you, because I have seen so many people not able to come together who had that connection, who truly deep inside loved each other, but were too scared because they had not dealt with the inner trauma that has been lingering within them all this time throughout their life. Okay? So I do think that, yes, is it possible that someone's genuine love can motivate and inspire someone to want to go deeper and get healing? Yeah, I think it's possible. But again, all these things that we just mentioned, you're playing a very risky game by waiting. Not to mention that we should not make the responsibility of our healing, or we should not put that responsibility on anyone but ourselves. It's not fair to your future potential partner or the current man that you're dealing with that he be responsible for your healing. No, your healing is a personal choice you have to make. The same way his healing is his personal choice he has to make. We can encourage it with each other. We can even walk together and going through the process with each other. You know, we can pour into each other in ways to help strengthen us in that process, but we cannot do it for the other. We cannot personally heal them. Like, even if I've heard people say to me, you know, Stephan, you heal me. No, I didn't heal you. I led you to healing. I gave you the push you needed. I gave you the guidance you needed. But at the end of the day, you were making the choice. Anyone who has healed because of a book they read from me, a video they listened to, let me say I'm proud of you because you made the choice. I gave the information. I gave the nudge. I poured some love into you, some positive energy. But at the end of the day, you made that choice. And everyone's got to be willing to make that choice. So do not make the mistake of thinking the man's love will heal you. You can do what's needed to heal you. All right, now before we continue, just want to mention, I want to meet you in your city. I'm on tour. I'm always doing events. Go to stephanspeakshop.com. Get your tickets today. Excuse me. You can also get the various books I have available, coaching sessions, everything that you need on the site. Click the link in the description or in the comments section. Or again, go to stephanspeakshop.com, and I hope to see you at one of my live events. Now, let's move things along. And another common mistake I want you to avoid when dealing with a man who deeply loves you is holding back your love. Now, for some of you, you might be like, well, why would I be holding back my love if he deeply loves me? Well, here's the thing. The unfortunate reality is that so many people have either been hurt personally through their own relationship experiences or have seen others get hurt. And then, God forbid, have been tainted by all the nonsense they see on social media and the internet of all kinds of crazy stories, sometimes fake stories, but we won't even go there right now. Point is, people have a lot of reference points of failure, of hurt, of being deceived, all these things. So what happened, and because most people have not fully healed, and yes, let me just say for the record, you can fully heal. I have to respectfully disagree with the people who feel that healing is this ongoing journey throughout life. No, you can fully heal from what you've already previously experienced, okay? But because most have not, even when faced with true love, there can still be parts of you that question it. There can still be parts that wonder, okay, is this for real? Can I trust moving forward? I'm not sure what's going on here. This feels good. This looks good, but who knows? And so one of the things that sometimes happens is in trying to evaluate this is real, there are many women who then are either operating with a wall up so they don't even realize how much they're holding back, or who hold back intentionally out of kind of a game playing tactic. They may not see it as playing a game, But they're doing so to see, well, let me see how he reacts. Let me see if I don't call him, will he call me? How seriously is he about me? Things like that, okay? And unfortunately, what many don't understand is that when you engage in those types of games and tactics with a man who actually loves you, you run the risk of now hurting him. You run the risk of giving him more reason to question how serious you are, because women aren't the only ones going through disappointment and hurt. Men are too. So if they see anything that is a red flag from their end, from you, that they're seeing in you, well, now they have to sit there and start questioning things. So the holding back of love, whether that be out of fear of being vulnerable, or out of testing the man, or whatever the case may be, creates more problems. And that's why I'm trying to get you all and everybody to understand that the best way to expose what you're dealing with in an individual and to really see how much they love you is to by fully loving them. Like what I'm saying is, you can't drive out darkness with more darkness. You have to use light, okay? By you being vulnerable, open, loving, what happens now is, one, if a man's not really on that with you, there's a lot of men you will weed out just from that. Like some of you have experienced where when the relationship intensified, the man disappeared, right? And you're like, what went wrong? Did I do something wrong? And sometimes, no, you did everything right. And what happened was he was comfortable and cool when things were at a more casual level because that's all he ever wanted. Once things got real and deep, he's like, I'm not trying to be on this emotional stuff. I'm out, okay? There's other things, reasons why it might be happening, but that's one of the reasons why they might disappear like that. So you'll weed out some of those guys. Then the other guys, you're setting a stamp by being open, vulnerable, loving. You're setting the bar up here for how we need to show up in the relationship. So now, if he stays down here, he's exposing himself. Because if that man loves you, he's genuinely into you, he will come up here with you. If anything, he'll go even higher. But he will not stay down here when you're being all loving and open. However, if you're being closed off, wall up, scared, whatever the case may be, testing him, and you keep operating down here, well, now you make it easier for him to stay right here with you. You see? He doesn't have to go that much higher. Even if he went a little bit higher, it's still down here. You get what I'm saying? So you actually will see more and have a better understanding of what you're dealing with by being more open and loving. But holding back love is only going to shoot you in the foot. You ever heard the saying, scared money don't make money? Well, scared love won't find love. So I don't want you to be scared no more. All right, so we got one more, but I got a bonus I have to mention to you after this. But let's get to this other common mistake I want you to avoid when dealing with a man who deeply loves you. And that is don't make the mistake of not including God in the process, okay? So you need to include God in the process, is what I'm trying to say. It's sounding weird to me as I say it, like I'm saying it wrong. Anyways, here's one of the big reasons why I have to bring it up. If you watch my videos, you know I'm constantly bringing up God and encouraging you to connect with God when it comes to navigating this dating experience and relationships and marriage. But a lot of people have this, they understand and remember, or more likely to remember, when things are looking bad to go to God, right? But they have a tendency to overlook going to God when things look good. So in putting it within the context of what we're talking about, woman meets a man, everything's amazing, everything's going great. It's very easy for her, because again, we're talking about a man who deeply loves her. It's very easy for her to now skip the step of talking to God because, well, everything's so great. What's there to pray about? Everything's amazing. If there's any prayer, it's just to thank God for what's happening, right? But one, even though this video was about men who genuinely loves you, to not include God can set you up for falling for the devil in disguise, okay? So some men know how to present themselves very well, And you got to be able to see beyond the surface. And going to God helps you see beyond the surface. So that's one of the reasons why. But two, even if he is the guy who he is genuinely the good guy, genuinely loves you, that doesn't mean we don't need to be mindful of how we proceed in this situation. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be pitfalls. And what I like to say is, well, this is one of the theories I have. This is just my personal belief. You ain't got to believe it. I'm just going to share it with you. I'm of the belief that a lot of times when two people are truly best for each other, they will have difficulties getting together, right? And when two people are not best for each other, there's that it's an easier initial process to make it happen, okay? Reason being, in my theory, is that if I'm the devil and I see two people who don't belong together trying to get together, I'm not interfering because I already know y'all are headed for a whole train wreck. It's going to be a mess. It's going to fall apart, broken home, all types of nonsense. I'm going to let that slide. But when I see two people who are supposed to be together, and I know that these two people coming together is going to be something powerful and amazing and serve God's purpose, I'm interfering. I'm getting all in y'all situation, and I'm creating all kinds of outside noise and outside interference to throw this thing off, okay? So understand that though there is love, that doesn't mean there won't be obstacles. That doesn't mean there won't be interference. It's hitting my spirit, so I'm going to say it. Sometimes that interference is your own family. Sometimes that interference is some of your close friends. It can come from various different places that you don't expect. And if you don't have God to ground you in those moments, you will be swayed by that outside interference and lose a situation that is truly best for you. Okay? And for those who may be hurt by that statement because they've already experienced that, I just want you to know all hope isn't lost if you're going to be willing to go back to God. I don't know the situation. Sometimes it is one door closes, then another door will open, okay? I just want to throw that in there. But to get back to the point, you just have to understand that just because everything is going well right now doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And we have to include God whether things are going good or going bad. All right. That's how we make sure we stay on track and on the right path and we get the results that are truly best for us in any situation. All right. So I said I had a bonus for you. So the bonus common mistake I want you to avoid when dealing with a man who deeply loves you is you have to be mindful of how you speak to him because that man is going to be more sensitive with you. Okay. So I think a lot of women don't realize or don't understand that when a man truly loves a woman, in general, when we truly love someone, it can pull out our insecurities. It can really leave us emotionally naked. It's harder to sometimes even be as confident with this individual because we care so much about what they think, how they feel, all that stuff. And so because we care so much about how they feel and how they perceive us, we can become much more sensitive to those person's words, all right? So someone else could have said that same thing that was a little mean, and it's like you laugh at it or it's not that big of a deal. But when the person you love says it, it might hit a lot harder, okay? So with all that said, I think sometimes I've even seen some of the toughest guys, okay? Guys that when that woman met him, looked like nothing fazed him, nothing bothered him. Just a really tough guy. And then yet become such a sensitive, I don't want to use the word soft, but I'm just going to stick with sensitive man when it comes to his woman. All right. And again, sensitive in his feelings getting hurt sensitive. All right. And so as a woman, you have to understand there is power in your tongue in more ways than one. Now, let's get the mind out the gutter. But there is power in how you speak to that man, okay, and the words you say to him. And so you really want to be careful with how you deliver your message, your energy, your tone. And of course, if I was speaking to men, it's the same thing I would tell them. They have to be mindful. And listen, I think everyone in general needs to be mindful of how they speak to people. Okay, I'm a big believer in we have a responsibility in how we deliver our message. And I think that you always have to ask yourself the question, do you want to be heard or do you want to be received? If you just want to be heard, speak however you want. All right? Loud, rude, mean, whatever, say what you want because you just care about being heard. But if you want to be received, that person to really take in the message you're giving them in that moment, then you have to be more considerate of what they may be sensitive to, what they're more receptive to when it comes to someone talking to them. And don't think that because it's a man, because some of y'all, respectfully, act like men don't have any feelings. And so, because if you hold on to that idea, then you will not be careful with how you speak or even how you do certain things. Because to them, it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. They'll get over it. No, believe it or not, it can stay with some of them for a very long time. So, bottom line, be mindful of how you speak to a man. But ultimately, you know what? I want you to understand that, again, like I said in the beginning, love is beautiful. Love, I even want to say love is perfect because to me, God is love and God is perfect. However, people aren't. And we just have to be mindful of that in understanding that we're going to have our moments of struggle. The people who love us will have their moments of struggle, and that's all okay, all right? But that doesn't change the love that actually exists there in that relationship. And know that as long as you keep God first in your life and do what needs to be done, then things will go the way they need to go. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on 5 great questions you need to ask God when you feel like you might have found the one. Is a prayer that I mentioned in my book, The Man God Has For You, and I call it the most popular prayer that women pray. And it's the prayer that goes,